Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels shine in their NFL debut this past weekend, while J.J. McCarthy showed why he should be the Viking starter over Sam Darnold. We go through which players' stock rose the greatest after week one of the preseason on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk. When I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and NFL analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer, and I'm not doing this. I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We are through week one of the preseason. We got all of the information we needed this weekend. Now, a lot of starters didn't play throughout the weekend, but we did get the top storyline here, what we're really waiting for. These rookie quarterbacks got their chance to play in the NFL, and Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels specifically did not disappoint whatsoever. Both looked really, really solid in their debuts. And I honestly, like, these are two guys we've been talking up in fantasy anyways, especially Jayden Daniels, but it was just nice to see them go out there and look like they were calm, cool, collected, and they made those big plays that we were waiting for, or like wanting to see them make.
Yeah, we were hopeful of this happening last year with the two rookie quarterbacks. Unfortunately, Anthony Richardson got hurt, but C.J. Stroud went on to be very productive as a rookie. And then we saw fades from Bryce Young and Will Levis. They weren't worth playing, but there could be a lot of rookie fantasy quarterback value this year. And Caleb Williams, I was just very impressed. He went out there and looked like he had been running that offense for a long time. There was a beautiful play where he bootlegged, threw on the run, deked someone, and then found Cole Kmet downfield. So that was very promising that he's going to get the ball in the hands of all of his weapons here all over the field. That's good. I mean, he's not going to take off and run, as we saw. He's going to be a little bit like Patrick Mahomes, where he's going to buy time looking for that big play downfield. He's going to do that. He's going to improv and wait for someone to break free downfield. So that could hurt his rushing value at some point, but we also know Mahomes is smart enough, like Williams, to make plays when it matters, and you'll take off when the situation calls for it, like in the red zone where they need a touchdown and they're facing a third and long, and he'll try to improvise to get it in there with his legs. So he will make some plays, but I think it'll be very similar to Mahomes. Pick his spots. He's not going to be a dedicated runner, and that's really the only difference between him and Jayden Daniels, who looked sharp also. I mean, he threw a pretty deep ball to Diami Brown. Then he kind of made one move and walked into the end zone there against the Jets defense. So he looked really good as a runner and a passer. Williams just looked good overall, like he'd been at this for a while in an NFL offense. So I'm really excited. Right now, we know Daniels is going ahead of Williams. They're kind of in the QB 12 to 14 range, but this might make us consider Williams a little bit higher, right? We've been talking about that tier with Jordan Love and Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow. Maybe Caleb Williams is creeping into that conversation based on the weapons he has and based on just his pure talent.
I think Caleb Williams should be going a little bit earlier. I still, though, like the Jayden Daniels performance got me really excited because, like, at LSU, he was so good at that deep ball. He was one of the best deep ball passers in the FBS, if not the best. And like then we see him just throw an absolute dime. It was a dime to Diami Brown. Like, beautiful pass. And then I love that when they got around the goal line, they weren't messing with anything else. It was just like, we're just going to let Jayden Daniels run it in. That got me excited too, that's a part of, I mean, as it should be, right? He's a mobile quarterback. They should use him around the goal line. It was great right away to get to see that. So we've been talking up Jayden Daniels all off season long. This first performance got me excited. And, you know, for Caleb Williams, he should have a great year. It's just harder to know what his floor is in any given week if he's not going to rush as much as a Jayden Daniels. That just gives us a safer floor. That's all. Now with J.J. McCarthy, he doesn't start the game. Sam Darnold does. So McCarthy's going up against backups, while the first two guys we just talked about, Daniels and Williams, they did play against the starters for the other team. But still, he looked really, really good. Besides the one interception right pretty much right when he started there. But I thought his throws looked crisp. I thought he looked calm, cool, and collected. I thought he did everything right. He kind of looked like Kirk Cousins back there, honestly. And we know how bad Sam Darnold is. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like, J.J. McCarthy should be the starter.
Yeah, on the other side, the quarterback battle is uninspiring. We will have a starter soon between Aiden Connell and Gardner Minshew with the Raiders, but the Vikings one is way more interesting, right? The Vikings one has got weapons. I'm not saying the Raiders don't have weapons with their guys, but the Vikings one we're paying particular attention to because Justin Jefferson wasn't out there. It was guys that are lesser making big plays for McCarthy all over the field, and they let him play a lot, which is a good sign. Is that whatever struggles you may have heard about in training camp with the practice reps and all that, it was good that Kevin O'Connell stuck with McCarthy quite a bit in that game and let him work it out. He did have an interception early, but then he got going. Like he just looked fantastic when he was in rhythm, showed a lot of the toughness, the big playability with his arm, and occasionally with his legs that we expected when he came out of Michigan. So he's a guy, again, that wasn't leaned on a lot in college to throw and lead the team. I mean, they're a run-heavy offense with a great defense. So he was more a complementary player, and that was hard for some to evaluate. But I think this offense, we know, is a pass-first Vikings offense. It's going to be that way all season long. And again, when we see all those guys come together, Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson's back healthy, and then you're going to start to see, okay, where is this offense going as an explosive unit? So I'm excited for McCarthy. Unfortunately, I think the Vikings are probably going to still stick with Darnold again because it comes down to Darnold does better in practice. You know he doesn't do as well in games. Maybe McCarthy is the exact opposite, and we'll see him sooner rather than later, starting early in the season.
Yeah, now we had two guys come back from injury. Anthony Richardson looks healthy, looks ready to go. Had some accuracy issues in the game. I mean, it was only 4 pass attempts.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the accuracy issues with him. Again, we're not worried about the passing with Anthony Richardson when it comes to fantasy. What's nice to see him is they put him out there in week 1 of preseason, and he looks healthy and good to go. Now, the only reason I think we're down on him as a podcast is because you can get Jayden Daniels like 50 picks after Anthony Richardson, and they have the same risk, same upside. Like Jayden Daniels might even have more upside because I do think he's a bit better of a passer. Not a bit. Like I think he's a much better passer coming at where they're at right now. So yeah, I think that's like our only thing. We're like, why take Anthony Richardson in the 4th when you can take Jayden Daniels in the 8th or 9th, you know? But it was good to see him healthy. Then Joe Burrow out there looks healthy. Great first drive. T. Higgins easily gets in. It was so nice to see Joe Burrow out there.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow, I mean, we're a little bit more concerned with him because he's had a long history of injuries. I know Richardson had 2 key injuries already as a rookie. He had the concussion, then he had to miss time with the shoulder surgery. But what I like about Richardson is the Colts trust him, and they wanted to get him out there. And Shane Steichen is going to do what's best for him to keep him healthy. I think they've heard about it, right? Can Anthony Richardson stay healthy? Is he going to prove that he has durability here? So the Colts are going to be well aware of that. I think it helps when you have Jonathan Taylor in the mix right away. And I was impressed by the fact that the Colts just rolled out their key starters. They had Taylor out there. They had their offensive line. So we got a hint that Richardson is headed in a good direction here in year 2. And great to see him on the field with Burrow. Again, he said he wanted to be hit. I don't know if I want him to be hit too much. Like, I want him to be protected and throw the way he was in the game. Now that part of that comes out of the offensive line, but Joe Burrow has to be a little bit smarter, not trying to just force extend plays. He can't run out of it as easily as some of these other quarterbacks, including Williams and Mahomes. And he's not in that category of scrambler. Like, he wants the big play, but hey, Joe, take the little plays. You got really good receivers all over the field. They can do stuff after the catch for you. And I think he adjusted to that well when teams were taking away Jamar Chase and the deep ball, but I think he's right back there ready to shine like we did in his best years. Again, the pocket passing, like there with CJ Stroud, I think that's a concern in taking Burrow too high.
1000%. Yeah, he's going a little too high for me. Now, Jordan Love, who also I think is going a bit high because of the pocket passing with him, he right away throws a long touchdown to Tavian Wicks. Awesome. Great. Good throw. It still doesn't change anything for me just because of that one throw in preseason. That's all I have for
that. I'm going to say Jordan Love is quite a dynamic player. And I think in the system, I think the biggest concerns we have are the rushing and is there going to be some touchdown regression. And I think both those things are fair for someone who passes like this in a good rushing attack. So again, reality quarterback Jordan Love might be really justifying his contract early, but fantasy is going to take a big year to do that, and it has to be wire to wire, unlike last year, which was just kind of the back half of the season.
Yeah, we're going to get into the running back stock watch. Who up their stock after this week? There's one running back who didn't even play, whose stock I think increased, which makes me very happy. We'll get into all of that right after we hear from one of our sponsors.
This episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find qualified professionals that are right for the role, and you want to find high quality professionals as well. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Look, the NFL teams are like small businesses here. They're units that all have to be on the same page. Cooperation, community, all those things are very important to succeed with themselves on the field. Same thing with your small business. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role in a new organization. A given month, more than 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That's right, just one day. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier and faster for you. With the job descriptions, they can set you up in minutes. 2.5 small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Make sure you're one of them. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, Michelle, let's dive into the running backs. I know we just got done with concern over this guy with the potential bust, but what was promising there in that Caleb Williams game is DeAndre Swift made a big play. He had a 42-yard reception. Now, there wasn't a lot on the ground in that game, but I think I got a better indication that DeAndre Swift is going to be a key part of the progressions in this passing game, and that could be really good for his value. It's just going to be the concerns about the rushing volume and touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, I do think he's going to get a lot of volume. I do. It's just how many touchdown opportunities does he have?
Yeah.
How many targets does he have? Because like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore weren't in this game, right? So
Yeah.
will Swift be one of those top options? Probably not, but it is good to see him being used in the screen game. Also, really interesting, Khalil Herbert got so much work. And that I'm saying this is a bad thing for Khalil Herbert. Got so much work in week 1 of the preseason. It's like he might be a cut candidate because you don't want guys that you're,
Too many guys. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
you don't want guys that you think you're going to be using in the regular season getting that much work in week 1 preseason. And it's like, okay, that's not a great sign for him. Now, Tony Pollard, we have different opinions on this game. So your takeaway from this game is that Tony Pollard looked great, and you feel like he very much confirmed his lead spot with the team. At least that's what it kind of seemed like with the notes you wrote here. I actually got the other feeling that it's just going to be a complete 50-50 workload. And it was Spears, the one that they put, the goal line and the second goal line situation after Tony Pollard failed the first time in the first goal line situation, and Spears got in, and it was actually a pretty nice run on the goal line carry that was 4 yards and a touchdown for him. But they pretty much split the workload, and that second time they got near the goal line, it was Tony Pollard they gave the target to, or sorry, it was Tajay Spears they gave the target to, and then Tajay Spears they gave the carry to, and he got in. That makes me a little bit nervous about Tony Pollard.
Yeah, maybe that's the sign that we should carefully tread when considering the Titans' backfield, right? We could have two different perspectives on the same thing. It's very hard to read here, right? On one hand, you have Ryan Callahan, you have Nick Holes, the offensive coordinators or coaches there, that they're used to one backs, right? Joe Mixon, Travis Etienne. But on the other hand, they're also smart coaches. And if Spears can have a role and Pollard and them are interchangeable, do they go in that direction? So this is how I look at it, right? They could say Spears and Pollard have similar skill sets. So they are interchangeable. We can split this workload up. Another way you could look at it is Pollard gets the volume and Spears comes in and seamlessly can replace him, right? So unfortunately, there are multiple perspectives on this. So again, I think it makes sense that both of us saw it in a different way here. And I don't know what the Titans are seeing in it right now. And that's the biggest thing we got to figure out here in a few weeks.
Yeah, Pollard's long run was a pretty, it had a nice hole, and he actually it was uninspiring to me. He looked real slow. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if he's if he ever got fully healthy
Maybe
after
took the
the
money and didn't
strike
run
record.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this
That's what
actually
he's.
makes me I think the stock is up on Tajay Spears and you think on Tony Pollard, which is funny. But Spears going at running back 35, right back to back with Trey Benson. I'm taking Spears all day over
Yeah,
Trey Benson.
definitely.
Since as we sit here through 1 week of the preseason. Now, the one guy I'm talking about who didn't play, Zach Moss, he was out of the game because he was sick, not because that they're just trying to keep him healthy. But Chase Brown does get the first team snaps with Moss out, and he stunk. So that makes me happy. But 5 carries, 10 yards, and then 5 carries, 10 rushing yards, and then 0 yards on the one reception. It's not just about the ending numbers here, but he did get stuffed on 2 of his 5 carries. And the few carries he did get some yards. It's not like he did anything special. He actually recorded negative 14 yards over expectation, according to Next Gen Stats. And this is what he struggled with last year. He was stuffed on 21% of his run plays last year. That was the highest rate among all running backs last year. And then he got stuffed on 40% of his carries this past weekend. So he's just doing what he did last year.
Yeah, and these are kind of related situations in a weird way because the Bengals have moved on and they turned the page, but they did have Callahan. So these are two of the toughest backfields to figure out. We're going to keep taking notes and watching what's going on in camp there. The Titans are one thing, but Chase Brown and Zach Moss feels a little bit similar. But I think Chase Brown, however, is not proven the way that Spears is. I think Spears has done a lot more to show that he should be on the field. Chase Brown hasn't had the majority of touches in a game to say we really like him, where Spears has been very dynamic in a receiving role. So, yeah, that could turn out to be true and help Zach Moss. We have to see it, though. We need to see Moss healthy so we know how they might use them. And this is what we're
Well,
trying
it's
to figure
interesting
out.
because they said in week 2 starters aren't playing. So it'll be interesting
That'll be
if
good.
Moss
Yeah.
does play because he didn't play last week. It'll be an interesting dynamic there to watch.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to watch these very closely. Let's say this: I think I am still worried a little bit more about Chase Brown in this situation than I'd like to be. But again, I feel that it's good that maybe this will say that we definitely want to go after Spears instead of Brown here if we have any doubts about how these backfields are going to be split in Tennessee and Cincinnati.
Yep. And then we had Audric Estime, the rookie for the Broncos. He goal line work there. He did lose a fumble, but overall, I thought he looked pretty solid. I like Estime coming out. Julio McLaughlin gets his work in as well. Did much better than Estime on an efficiency basis. Javonte Williams, I feel like always, every single game, he's going to average 3.8 yards per carry. I don't think I've ever seen a different stat line for him. It's always 3.8 yards per carry. I don't think this really told us anything about this backfield, though. I feel like it's probably just Javonte Williams with McLaughlin coming in and being the receiving back, and probably Audric Estime is just going to be fighting for whatever little snaps he can get.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take here. I mean, it feels like Sean Payton is very inconsistent about his feels for Javonte Williams, and that's also makes it hard. But Estime, I mean, losing that fumble was not great. It led to a touchdown by the Colts in that game. So we'll have to wait and see again. But you're right. I think McLaughlin's going to be the change of pace. We'll see what Estime can do. And Williams, unfortunately, is going to hold on to that job until maybe the bitter end where they're just like, okay, you're ineffective. We're going elsewhere. Now, Joe Mixon has a hold on his job, but Cam Akers came in and got some carries. Now, we could look at it this way, right? The Texans were playing some number one. CJ Stroud was in there. But maybe they were saying, okay, the backfield we want to rest. But I think you have to just look at Akers, Jawar Johnson, and some of these guys that are playing that, hey, this might be a little bit more of a diverse backfield and have more options. And Joe Mixon just may not be the man here in Houston.
I will say, Dameon Pierce just isn't it, right? And
Yeah,
Cam
he's
Akers,
probably,
after 2 torn Achilles, he looks healthy, and that's the key here. It's not like his stat line popped or anything, but Akers does just look better than Pierce in this backup role. So I do think Akers being the backup over Pierce might eat into Mixon a little bit more, because I don't think they would have been trying to get Pierce out on that field. Akers, though, we maybe will eat into Mix a little bit more if they want to keep Mixon's body healthy at 28 years old. Again, I don't take too much from this. Mixon's job is fully secured. He was sitting out of the game. He's clearly like a huge part of their game plan. So not too worried about that. And then Jarrett Patterson looks to be the backup for the Chargers. I guess the backup to the backup, but J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, they both sat out of the preseason week 1. And it was Jarrett Patterson that was by far the best among this group. Vidal, I don't know if he either didn't play or didn't get a touch, just wasn't not a part of it. And then Isaiah Spiller just stinks. So if you're looking for, I guess a handcuff to either Dobbins or Edwards with their long injury history, Jarrett Patterson, could be seeing some time this year.
Yeah, he wasn't bad when he got some opportunities when he was with the Commanders, and I thought he had a little bit of upside. I think the Chargers are really down on Kimani Vidal. Like, they have not been shy about saying your young players, if they stink, they're not going to see the field. I mean, Quentin Johnson has been in that area as a second-year player, first-round pick. And we look at Vidal. I mean, he's a late-round rookie, right? They don't need to hold on to him, especially if Spiller shows something there. But it clearly looks like Patterson is in the lead for the number 3 duties and not insignificant. And again, I think Jim Harbaugh, that's the one thing about him. He's just going to look at the player that produces, and he's not going to worry about draft status or whatever. He's going to just see who's effective in that offense. And Patterson actually ran well, so that was a good sign for that offensive line of the Chargers being very effective under Greg Roman. Probably a good sign for Dobbins and Edwards. Now, finally, just looking at these running back situations, look, I don't think there was too much to take away from this, but again, sometimes it's better to see who didn't play versus who did play, and you can take a little bit more out of that going forward.
So we got a lot of great action from the rookie quarterbacks. Not so much from the top 2 rookie wide receivers that were drafted this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors both played, but did nothing. And we're okay with that. We're going to talk about those 2 real quickly and then get into the guys who did make an impact for their team. And if we are buying it, right? If we're more interested in them in fantasy right after the break. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number 1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So as I mentioned, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, they both play 1 series. All right, that's all they get into, and they don't get a target. I'm not worried in the slightest. Neither Kyler Murray or Daniel Jones played. So it really doesn't matter if they didn't get a target from the backups in 1 series. Now, the bigger issue, though, is Malik Neighbors did get hurt in camp. A teammate stepped on him, I guess. It seems to be a very minor sprained ankle, so I'm not going to freak out yet. I'm not moving him at all. But hopefully he can be back in the next week or 2.
Yeah, I think you just stay status quo with Harrison and Neighbors' value at this point, right? I mean, there's nothing to say we're going to move the needle down. There's a lot of other indications that they're playing fantastic. I mean, you're right. I mean, having these scrub quarterbacks in there, they can struggle to get the ball to their top targets. Where, look, Daniel Jones and Kyler Murray are going to be a lot more confident in that. So I wouldn't do anything at all with the value of Harrison Neighbors. Just stand pat and really draft them maybe even higher than their rank right now. I think the stock for me still stays pretty high in both cases.
Now, there was a rookie who had a really nice stat line. Jermaine Burton of the Bengals puts up over 80 receiving yards. And his stock's definitely going to go up after, So 4 targets, 3 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown was his final stat line. His stock is obviously like up after that, right? But at the same time, I'm going to splash some cold water on it. He didn't play until the 3rd quarter. He came in with the 3rd stringers, didn't catch a pass until the 4th quarter. It's been Andre Yosivash. I knew I was going to mess that up.
Yeah.
Andre Yosivash and Trent Irwin have been getting all the love and hype in camp, and they both played with the first team offense. They both caught a pass from Joe Burrow. Yoshivash caught a 23-yard catch from Burrow. Like, I don't think Burton has earned any playing time in this offense yet, and I don't care. He had a good game. Last year, Austin Watkins Jr. had 139 yards in a playoff game. That was the most in a preseason game, last year. Did Austin Watkins Jr.? I don't even know what team he's on. Christian Wilkerson had the second highest. Albert O had the fourth highest. Lucas Kroll, fifth highest. Antoine Green, seventh highest. Like, it doesn't matter. I swept cold water on it.
Yeah, what may matter, however, when you're talking about Esvas and Irwin and Burton, is that they might have a bit of a committee all over the place with their third target right in this offense. So what does that mean? It's going to mean great things for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins because they can also line up in the middle field, work the slot when needed. I think you'll see a little bit more 12 personnel from the Bengals this year with the Mike Gesicki in the mix, especially near the red zone. So again, if you're looking for a third receiver, a wide receiver on the Bengals to produce, I don't think you're going to find anything consistent from any of these guys. So just move on. And again, there's some key targets from Tyler Boyd that are going to go to Chase and Higgins. So good for their values as well.
Yeah, I mean, T. Higgins, if anything, we should be talking about him. He looked really good. I know Jamar Chase wasn't playing, but like really these extra targets could just be going to T. Higgins because he deserves more work as well. Brian Thomas Jr., another rookie. He's the rookie for the Jaguars. He made a big play for the Jags. It didn't come from Trevor Lawrence. It was actually like the second step with CJ Beathard. He has a 41-yard catch. It was a really, really pretty catch. But I will say Gabe Davis connected on a 20-yard catch from Trevor Lawrence just a few moments prior to that. So I don't know if there's anything to take from this. I will say I still think Brian Thomas Jr.'s ADP is too low. He's going after Jamison Williams, after Curtis Samuel, right next to Tyler Lockett. I want Brian Thomas over all those guys. It's not to even say I think he's going to be great or good this year, but he has the opportunity to be the top target in his offense. He's a first-round pick. He was talented at LSU. Like, I'm going to take a shot on that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this might say that Trevor Lawrence is going to have a better year overall because he's got two guys who can stretch the field, open things up for Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram in the underneath game as well. So I do like maybe the Jaguars offense progressing in the right direction and rebound potentially for Lawrence. But yeah, Davis is just a big play guy. I think Thomas can be a lot more with his skill set. Now, another situation, I was pleasantly surprised by the Broncos. I mean, I've been down on the Broncos quite a bit, and we just talked about Javonte Williams, that ugly situation, but Courtland Sutton, Marvin Mims both played. They kept their first stringers in with Bo Nix, and I was very encouraged by Bo Nix playing with both of these guys. Like Mims scored a short touchdown. You had some big plays by Courtland Sutton, so maybe it's a bump up for both of these guys a little bit. I think Mims, finally, they're tapping into this guy's potential maybe as a playmaker that they need to be putting on the field a lot. So I do think Sutton still maybe undervalued here without Jerry Jeudy. That opens up a lot here in this offense. So keep an eye. If Nix is starting, I'm going to feel a little bit better about Sutton and Mims going forward. If it's
definitely
Jared Stidham should not be starting. I'll say that. If it's Jared Stidham, I'm going.
Jared Stidham's not starting. It'll be Bo Nix. But I have no interest in Courtland Sutton. I don't care who's starting back there. He scored touchdowns last year and still stunk for fantasy. I do think the stock is up for Marvin Mims. So because it's not just that he caught the touchdown, it's because Sean Payton drew up the play to go to Marvin Mims. I mean, it was Bo Nix got the ball. That was the play. It was a very, very quick pass for Marvin Mims, short, but it was a play call to get Marvin Mims the ball in the end zone. And that makes me happy because Sean Payton refused to use Marvin Mims last year. So getting to see that play call designed with the starters, that was really great to see. So I do think his stock is up. Troy Franklin didn't get on the field for ever. So that's a stock down.
I think Mims is the hot deep sleeper you want to go after. I'm not saying you want to invest too much in Sutton because there's so many values around him, but Mims is a name to keep in mind. This back end of your draft, deeper leagues. Just toss something at him because I think they're going to try to get him involved in the offense. He's just too good of a playmaker. You put the ball in his hands, he can stretch the field, he can score after the catch. He can do a lot of things for this offense that it really needs here. So, and forget the Nick Franklin thing. We're trying to sell this hard rookie, but Franklin needs too much time, and I think too many guys to jump over the depth chart. Now, the last question we have here is Robert Woods. I totally forgot that he's still alive and kicking, playing in the NFL, but he's playing with the Texans, and he was pretty good in this game. I know they played Stroud to start, but when you looked at Woods, maybe this is just telling us they're going to spread the ball around a little bit. This is obviously good development for Stroud that he has all these weapons, but again, not a lot of vacated targets. There's going to be a bunch of guys fighting for these balls with Nico Collins and Tank Dell. So maybe this further confirms we're out on Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I also don't like Robert Woods doing whatever he did in the
He's
preseason.
sneaky,
Like, he
though.
was in there for a while.
Yeah.
I think I won't be shocked if he's cut, honestly. Like, Robert
No,
Woods
he might be done, but
yeah.
it just shows me that they're not playing too many favorites, right?
And
They're
then
going to put the
Stephon
ball.
Diggs is already crying on the sidelines because
Yeah,
Tank Dell
he's not
scored
going
the
to like the
touchdown and not
situation at
him.
all.
No.
No, they're not. He's not going to like this situation at all because he's going to go from touching the ball and seeing targets all the time to being the third option, and that's not going to be good for him.
Unfortunately not. That is it for today's episode. Thank you to you all for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. Everydayers, Vinnie and I are here Monday through Friday, every single day. We'll be back tomorrow talking some more fantasy goodness. Don't miss it. Bye, y'all.